You are born where bricks are black with soot and the air smells of coal and river water. Glasgow presses down under a heavy sky, the Gorbals district, narrow courtyards, rooms without heating. People sleep three to a bed and wake up angrier than when they lay down. Your mother washes other people's laundry. Her hands crack in winter. Your father sometimes comes home, sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes they carry him in, dockside fights, cheap whiskey, knives from Clyde workshops. In the docks, the rivets of shipyards hammer without rest. 1919, the Battle of George Square in Glasgow. Workers demand a 40-hour week. Tanks roll into the square. You're too young to remember, but the city is already learning to speak with its fists. You grow up fast. At 6, you understand food doesn't appear by itself. At 8, you know which shops close late. At 10, you know which doors aren't locked at night. Street gangs of boys start forming, razor blades in pockets, wool caps, bruised cheekbones. Later, people will call them the razor gangs of 1920s Glasgow. You're not a leader yet, not even the strongest. But you watch. Who lies? Who is afraid? Who cuts first? In winter, the cold pushes through the walls. You learn to sleep lightly, eat quickly, strike before someone strikes you. The city doesn't know your name yet, but the street has already started raising you. You grow up faster than you should. In the Gorbals, childhood ends before wisdom teeth arrive. Morning smells of factory smoke. At night, glass crunches under your boots. The city never stops making noise. You learn to move in packs. Alone. Meat. A pack. A tool. By 12, you already wear your cap pulled low. Your pockets are heavy with bolts and old razors. Your hands are always dirty. Not from work. From the street. 1923. The Billy Boys gang, led by William Fullerton, begins dominating parts of Glasgow. You hear their songs before you see them. You hear their boots, too. They move like a marching column. You watch and learn. Not from school. From them. You see how they hold territory. Where they stand on corners. How they pick a victim. How the police walk past if the noise is right and the money arrives on time. At 14, you run faster than most. Your fists harden. Your nose has been broken twice. Once by you. Once to you. 1926. The general strike in Britain. Factories stop. People line up for soup. Days like that make the streets fat. Shops guard their warehouses worse. You start carrying errands. Not important ones, but dangerous. Packages, words, knives. You stay silent when needed. Watch when others look away. Remember who pays and who betrays. Some boys from your yard disappear. Prison, knife, the River Clyde. You stay. Not because you're stronger, because you're more careful. And because you already understand something simple. In this city, the one who survives isn't the loudest. It's the one who lasts longer. Now you're no longer a courtyard boy, shoulders wider, eyes heavier. People start remembering your face even if they don't know your name. You learn the main rule of the street. Strength is noise, but control is silence. You stop running in packs. Packs are good for fighting, but money likes order and fear. 1931. The arrest of William Fullerton, leader of the Billy Boys newspapers, prints stories about gangs, razors, blood on pavement. Police raids quiet several neighborhoods. You watch calmly. When the big ones fall, space opens between the stones. You begin working carefully, first betting on underground fights, then loans. People borrow money faster than they think. You keep a small notebook, no names, only numbers. You learn useful things. Which policeman drinks after his shift? Which dock workers carry extra crates from warehouses? Who will close their eyes for a few pounds? 1934. Empire Exhibition in Bella Houston Park, Glasgow. Thousands of visitors arrive. Tourists, traders, pickpockets. The city becomes fat. You organize a couple of quick-handed boys. One distracts, one takes, one leaves first. Quiet work. Then comes the next step. A knife is no longer necessary. Knives are for people who can't count. Now you have other tools. Debts, fear, silence. People start coming to you themselves. Some for money, others to make problems disappear. You understand something else. Real power on the street is when a fight happens without you being there. But because of you, you're no longer the courtyard kid with a notebook. Now you have people. Not friends. People. Everyone knows their place. One collects debts. One runs the gambling room above a pub. One talks to the police. The city after the crisis is nervous. Work is scarce. Money even scarcer. When people are hungry, they gamble, drink, and borrow. That's your soil. 1936. Mass police operations against razor gangs in Glasgow. Newspapers say the razor era is over. Streets grow quieter. But crime doesn't disappear. It just moves indoors. You understand that before the others. You remove knives, remove street fights. Everything moves to the back rooms of pubs. Cards, bets, lists of debts on tables. People start talking to you differently. Not like to a thug, like to someone who can solve problems. September 3rd, 1939. Britain declares war on Germany. The Second World War begins for the country. Many boys from the neighborhoods go to the front. Some volunteer, others are taken. The streets empty, but the ports work even harder. Through the River Clyde military cargo flows. More warehouses, less protection than needed. You find new deals, missing crates, fuel, cigarettes, sometimes alcohol. Police are busy with other things now. Blackouts, sirens, air raid patrols. You enter the system quietly, without announcements. By the beginning of the war, half your old rivals are either at the front or in the ground, and your money begins to work on its own. Now the city knows your name, not from newspapers. From conversations in pubs, betting shops, warehouses along the Clyde. It's spoken quietly, like an address. War makes Glasgow nervous and rich at the same time. Shipyards work day and night. Money flows through the port faster than people can count. You stand aside and direct the stream. March 1941, the Clydebank Blitz. German bombers destroy Clydebank near Glasgow. Fires are visible for miles. Hundreds of houses vanish in one night. After the bombing comes chaos, broken warehouses, lost cargo, documents nobody checks. You turn chaos into bookkeeping. Now you run several operations: gambling rooms, stolen fuel supplies, cigarettes from army depots, debts of dock workers. Everything runs quietly, without noise. You don't fight anymore. You sign decisions. 1943. Shipyards at John Brown and Company build warships for the British fleet. Thousands of tons of metal, fuel, equipment pass through the port. Some of it disappears along the way. Your men no longer look like street gangs. Jackets, hats, clean shoes. They enter bars through the front door. Police know what's happening, but there's no proof, and too many people get their share. You sit in an office above a pub on Argyle Street, counting money, listening to war news on the radio. You understand something simple. While the world is busy with war, you've already won yours. But every peak is short. The city is already beginning to change, and with it, the rules, the war ends. Soldiers return home. The city exhales, but along with them, something else returns. Competition. The men coming back from the front are different. They've seen artillery, trenches, blood in the snow. Hard to scare them with knives or fists. May 8th, 1945. Victory in Europe Day. The end of war for Britain. Glasgow streets fill with drunk crowds. People hug, sing, fight. A month later, life returns to normal. And normal life starts asking questions. The state tightens control. Police look at the streets again instead of the sky. Old files come out of archives. You're still rich, still influential, but every step now costs more. 1947. Britain introduces harsh austerity measures and continues rationing. People grow poor again. And when people grow poor, they talk. One of your debt collectors disappears. 2 days later, they find him near the River Clyde. Face smashed, fingers broken. He talked too much. Police start visiting more often. Politely, with questions. You pay lawyers, pay informants, pay those who must stay silent. But some things can't be bought. Loyalty ages. Fear gets used to itself. Money attracts younger wolves. For the first time in many years, you sleep worse. Because you understand, the most expensive part of power is keeping it, and the bill has already arrived. The city begins changing faster than you're used to. Old districts disappear. Bulldozers arrive where destinies used to be decided. The Gorbals is no longer the maze you grew up in. Houses fall one after another. People move to new concrete estates. 1957. Large-scale demolition of Glasgow slums begins. The old Gorbals buildings fall under excavators. Along with them vanish streets where your power once worked. You watch like an accountant. Territory is an asset. When it's erased from the map, control disappears with it. Young gangs no longer resemble the old ones. Different habits, different money, less respect for old names. 1960, Strathclyde police intensify the fight against organized crime in Glasgow. New units, new methods, wiretaps, informants. Before, problems could be solved in a pub conversation. Now conversations are recorded. Some of your old people leave on their own. One opens a shop, another moves to Canada, a third drinks too much too early. You stay, but power doesn't look the same anymore. Now you're more like an old map of a rebuilt city. The lines are still there, but the streets are gone. 1965. Opening of Kingston Bridge over the River Clyde. Streams of cars run where warehouses and dark alleys once stood. The city moves on, and for the first time you feel something strange. Not fear, the exhaustion of an era. You live long enough to see the time when fewer people know your name. Not because it's forgotten, because the world has changed. Those who once feared you either died or grew old beside you. The young heard the legends but never saw you on the street. 1971. Creation of the Strathclyde region and reform of local administration in Scotland. Glasgow becomes part of a new system, paperwork, committees, officials. The system you once slipped into quietly has grown into a concrete machine. Your old places disappear one by one. The pub on Argyle Street where debts were settled is sold for offices. The gambling room closes after another police raid. You don't interfere anymore. You have money, a house outside the center, a few people who still call out of habit, but the phone rings less and less. 1975. Reorganization of Scottish policing, creation of Strathclyde Police. A new generation of officers knows your name from old files. To them, you're not an enemy. You're an archive. Sometimes you walk out in the evening and look at the River Clyde. Where crates were once loaded, tourists and buses pass now. The city outlived you, as it outlives everyone. You didn't die in a fight, didn't go to prison, didn't lose everything in one night. You simply became part of old Glasgow. And old Glasgow is already buried under the new one.